What happens now, Adam? It's a scary thing.
Well,
They're attacked by mosquitoes.
yes, exactly. They are attacked by mosquitoes, so it's not much of a plot twist because that's what else would they be attacked by?
Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Bad Movies and Swedish Opinions. Today it's only going to be me and Adam that reviews this movie or talks about it because of current circumstances. We kind of need to work around it and make do. Right, Adam?
Yeah, the circumstances are that Victor was supposed to join, but he fell asleep and didn't watch the movie in time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to talk about the movie they haven't seen, right?
I mean, he could improvise, but might not be the same thing.
Yeah, I think the way you speak is fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that would also be an experience, I guess. But let's do it the traditional way for now.
Yeah. So the movie that we have been watching is called Mosquito, also known as Blood Fever for some. It was released in the year 1994 and was directed by Gary Jones. The writers are Tom Chaney, Steve Hodge, and the director himself, Gary Jones. So, what is your first feeling about the movie before we jump right into it? Did you like it?
I can say I liked it more than I thought I would, because if you just look at it, like the description and images and shit, it looks kind of bad, but I was actually pleasantly surprised.
I kind of had a same feeling jumping into this movie as I did when I was watching a movie. I also think it's from the 90s or late 80s called Spiders, I think. It's like huge spiders attacking the city and whatnot. I thought it was going to be like pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a similar thing.
What?
It sounds like a similar thing. In this one it's mosquitoes, in that one it's spiders.
Yeah, I don't remember why the spiders were big though. Doesn't matter. Maybe we can see that movie sometime.
Yeah.
Rewatch it. Okay, so this movie basically starts out with an alien ship approaching Earth. It's a big mothership. When it's right above Earth, they send out a little smaller ship, which seemed to crash into a swamp, I think. And in this swamp, there are like many mosquitoes. And the mosquitoes starts to eat from the carcasses of the aliens, and because of that, they mutate and they grow in size, and now we have giant mosquitoes.
Yeah, which right off the bat brings up a lot of questions, like why were the aliens like send that small ship down? Were they about to crash, and why would the bodies of aliens make mosquitoes grow big?
Yeah, I mean, it's never really explained. I don't know if we should expect it to be explained, but exactly why did the alien approach Earth from begin with? Did it want to like do something here or do some abductions or whatever? And why was the first thing they did crashing to the Earth?
Yeah, it's not like we didn't see them bump into a meteor or something. It seemed to be a perfectly normal ship, but for some reason they sent out an escape pod.
Yeah, and the mothership just ignores it.
I bet it was like the son of the captain or something. Like, ooh, what does this bird do? And then he checks this escape pod and ends up on Earth.
Oh yeah, so it wasn't really even. They were just passing by Earth and accidentally got, thrown into a situation where they crashed into Earth.
It was like one of those cruises. he bought it for his 50th birthday for his family. And like, wait a second, kid is missing, and so is an escape pod.
Exactly. Got to find out millions of light years later on. Okay, so let's move on. The movie starts out with two characters called Ray, which in my notes I have written the boyfriend because I don't know if he have any more characteristics. He's supposed to be like a Brooklyn tough guy. That's pretty much it. He's like I guess the stereotype of a man.
Yeah, from the looks of it, he doesn't appear to be working. His girlfriend is working, so it kind of seems like she's the breadwinner of the family, and he's just like tagging along.
Exactly. So is he a man really?
Yeah, he can drive a car.
Yeah, he really likes his car. We can get back to that. And then we have his girlfriend, as you mentioned, Megan. Isn't Megan the most 90s name ever? It feels
Same
like
with Ray,
Megan
as
is like
they just listen to them. They are called Ray and Megan. Now that's a 90s couple.
exactly, it's like a sitcom. And she is quite fitting to the movie, some sort of experts on bugs. Or I don't know if she's a scientist, but she is at least a hired new park ranger for the story coming up. So I don't know if she's a scientist. It kind of feels like a park ranger is like she's all overqualified for that. I don't know.
Maybe she isn't officially a scientist. Maybe she's like documentaries.
She's a Google scientist.
Yeah, in the time before Google.
Yeah, exactly. She read books.
Remember
We
the
can
good
start.
old days when people actually read books?
Exactly. The before days. This movie starts out with Ray and Megan driving a car, and the movie starts out pretty hard because the first thing that happens is, I think, is besides the alien scene, this is the first real scene in the movie where they are driving, and the first thing they are hitting is a big mosquito, like really big, like bigger than a dog, like really big. And I thought this scene was pretty funny, actually. First off, I liked that they introduced the mosquitoes right away because in many of these wannabe horror movies, you kind of want to wait as long as you can because you don't really have the money to show off the monster because it's very expensive to making these dolls or whatever. But I kind of like that that was the first thing they did.
One thing I really liked also is that many B horror movies often fall for a temptation here to have one of the monsters appear, and then in this case, it would have attacked the car and killed a couple, like a really bloodthirsty and really, shall I say, accelerated start. But that didn't happen either. They just like came across it, found it, and it proceeded. Like
Yeah.
they weren't even hurt, and I kind of like that because at least me, I kind of expected them to get attacked and maybe killed, but nothing like that happened.
It can't. The first feeling I had was that this was a typical cliche first scene where they introduce the monster. The two couples are kind of debate, and they get killed off right away.
Yeah, I kind of thought that when she kneels down over the body to expecting to say Ray, it's still alive or whatever she says. I really thought they would like jump back up and eat her or something.
Yeah, but this first scene is also stupid in a way because after they hit the mosquito, they of course go out of their car and they're going to check out what they accidentally hit. And she walks over there and she has a look, and then Ray walks over and she was like, I don't really know what this is. I mean, it kind of looks like a mosquito, because it has a proboscis in which they suck blood with, and you see the abdomen here, and Ray is still not convinced. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, you have all of these things, and also it looks like a fucking mosquito, just a big one.
Yeah.
How more is there to analyze?
Ray really has his head far up his ass. He looks at Giant Mosquito and he's like, that's not a mosquito.
Exactly. I mean, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
But he was more concerned about the radiator on his car.
Yeah, and that's also the dumb thing here. If you see something this big and it's a mosquito, I think that Megan does the absolutely right thing here and wants to bring it along to do some testing, or I don't know, show it to the media or whatever. But Ray is so concerned about his car that he doesn't want to bring the carcass in.
Yeah, because it would make the car smelly or whatever he said. Never mind that he just found like a mosquito 1 meter in size.
Yeah, and with that argument, he wins the argument. Because she's like, okay, but can I take like a little part with me? And he's like, no, leave it. Just throw it to the side of the road and we'll keep going. Yeah, so they drive off. We might mention that they are driving towards Megan's new job. I think you said something about it, Adam, but she's supposed to be the new park ranger at a park, and they are driving towards that and accidentally hitting this mosquito on the way. But since the radiator got damaged, they need to find some sort of workshop and a place to stay over the night. So they drive to an hotel and talk to the receptionist and ask about a workshop, but there isn't any, and they try to solve the situation. But overnight, they wake up and go outside and they find this new character that we're going to introduce, and it's Parks. We're gonna have a real problem with the names here, and also that she's a park ranger, and also that a lot of this is played out on a park.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke.
It's a bad joke. It makes our life harder.
It makes our job hard. Yeah, exactly. Talking about parks and parks and parks is like cake on a cake.
At least Parks is not a park ranger.
No, that would be too much. He's actually a meteorologist. And he is not, the typical weather one. He's a real one. He studies meteors. And he has gotten a tip, or I don't know if he saw it himself, but he somehow found out that there has been some sort of meteor that hit Earth, and he wants to examine it. Right?
Yeah.
And since he has a car, and Megan and Ray doesn't have a car, and they need to reach her job in order for her to start it, they kind of team up. And there's no problem for me here. I think when they introduce themselves to each other, it kind of feels natural, and it doesn't feel like it couldn't happen in real life, at least in the 90s, people were more open and more helpful because there were more like lack of phones, and you couldn't really find, maybe as in this case, a workshop that easy. So people were more helpful, I would say.
That's the thing about this movie. I feel like the story progression actually makes sense, if you get what I mean. Because that's often a problem with B movies, that they just force the plot points to happen one after another in a way that's not realistic. That's not really a thing in this movie.
No, the movie is still a bit too long, I think, but we can talk about that later. They are introduced to each other at least, and they start driving towards her job or her park. On their way, Ray accidentally, I think it was him, accidentally turns the meteorologist Park's radiation scanner on, and it starts to pick up some radiation, and starts, to do that noise that's typical for radiation meters. So they stop by the side of the road and they walk out, and he starts going around with it and try to find out what the hell is making this radiation meter go off. And then they find the first victim, I think, which is a fisherman who got his eyeball sucked out and completely dry.
Oh yeah, and that was actually a scene before also that these two fishermen got attacked by giant mosquitoes.
Yeah, exactly. But see the movie if you want to see everything. But yeah, exactly. That pretty much happened, and that's why they find the fisherman right now. But what did you think about the effect here? This is the first time we see like a dry person,
I actually did not mind it much because, by modern standards, not good, but this was like in '94, so yeah, it looks all right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's totally okay. It's not nothing that concerns me or something that bugs me. It's okay. And I can imagine that they had like a budget on around $200,000, and they have like a lot of puppets and people, and that's going to be sucked dry, and mosquitoes that's going to attack. So I think they did a good job with the puppets and the dolls here.
Yeah, but I feel like my bar has been lowered quite a bit after we watched Birdemic.
Exactly, everything above that. Okay, so they pull that boat to the side and have a look on the body, and he says something stupid here. Parks. He's supposed to be some sort of meteorologist, and he has a radiation meter and whatnot. And he starts pulling the boat to the side. And Ray makes a very good question here. Should we really touch it? If it's, if your radiation meter is going up, should we touch it? And Parks is just like, it's not a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought that was a good concern, and I think Parks didn't really recognize it.
I think that Parks is probably also some kind of hobby meteorologist. Like he read a book about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I'm gonna be." And then he decides to travel America and look for the stuff.
Seems like every scientist in this movie is a hobby scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. They kind of realize that they need to call the cops. So they make a rational decision here. But in order for them to do so, they need to find a phone. And then they pull the boat to the side, they go into the car, and they keep driving off. And they finally reach the new park ranger Megan's new workplace. So they go inside to the park ranger house, I think, and it's a mess in there.
Yeah.
There's been some sort of, beside the Mosquito, I think people will just assume that there's been some bank robbery or something going on there, or not a bank, but like a robbery itself. Because there's a mess, paper everywhere, and everything's broken, and there's a dead guy there too. But if you look at the dead guy, what has happened to Adam?
All the evidence points to mosquitoes.
A big ass mosquito.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if it points towards that really, because people haven't really seen it before, besides Ray and Megan, whereof Ray didn't really believe it and Megan couldn't convince him. But yeah, he's been sucked dry by a mosquito. Yeah. And there's one thing I noticed here in the room. First off, the ceiling fan was still running, and you should remember that. And the second thing is that the phones are dead. Why is the phone dead? Did the mosquitoes cut the wires because they're super smart now and they don't want any feds walking around there?
And that's a dang good question, actually.
It makes no sense. Why would the phone be dead? I mean, I can accept that there is some sort of weird ass bugs running around there, but why would the phones be dead? I mean, it probably happened because there are still fires going on, like in some fires spaces to grill some food or something on in a barbecue. But so it couldn't be long ago that they were attacked, but somehow the phones are dead. And yeah, I just found that to be a little bit too convenient.
Especially since the thing about these mosquitoes is that they don't appear to be like, shall we say, super mosquitoes, because
No,
they don't behave different than normal mosquitoes. It's just that they're bigger.
right. The only thing they're doing exactly what the same mosquitoes would do. They find a prey and just start to suck the blood. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
like
So
sitting in a group plotting to take over the world or something.
they sit around a table and draw maps like, okay, we go here next, we go here.
Right. And yeah, they realize the phones are dead, and they walk around and they see that there's a lot of dead people there, which I also have a little bit of problem with because they aren't that spread out as I want them to be. Because if there was like a swarm of mosquitoes attacking, I think people would make a run for it, and not just stay at the same place and just get bitten. And there wasn't any mosquitoes laying around, so no one managed to kill a single mosquito.
I feel like there was a missed opportunity here because I want to see a scene where someone was like shit drunk and a mosquito went to drink his blood and died from alcohol poisoning.
Exactly. Could have died somehow at least. But here is where we find our next character, and they find him under a boat. And I thought this was it's supposed to be a bit of a tense scene because they're going to like turn the boat over, and the audience here watching the movie is supposed to think that there's a mosquito under. But of course there isn't. There is a new character, Hendrix. And he is the current park ranger, and he's been going around with pesticide in order to kill the mosquitoes, which I think should work.
I mean, why wouldn't it really?
Yeah, but he's been hiding under a boat, which also makes sense because I guess that's what I would have done. He explained to them that there are a lot of mosquitoes running around and that they have been killing all the people and whatnot. So everybody's on the same page now that there are mosquitoes and they're big, and that's it.
Yeah.
But do you know what he says here also? He says that the phones are dead, and he also says that the power are out. But if the power is out, how come the ceiling fan was still running?
Oh yeah, that is actually true.
Exactly. Inconsistency, Adam.
It's a detail they missed.
Exactly. Those bitches.
Wow.
Yeah, so that bugged me for the rest of the movie. But besides that, yeah, I know it's a pun intended actually. So what do they do now? We have almost every character here, and we're going to meet up with a new character along the road. But first, they need to, have a plan. What is their plan actually? I didn't really recognize that. Was it to find a way to contact the civilization?
I think that was more or less it.
Yeah.
It's a bit fickle, but that seems to be the general plan.
Yeah, so they talk it out, and they realize that Parks, the meteorologist car, isn't good enough for them to travel in because it doesn't really have a good roof. I think it's a good way to resonate. So instead, they find a big RV instead. So I mean, it doesn't really matter as the movie progresses, but they at least they take it and they start driving off, I guess, towards some sort of phone or something. But along the way, they see a broken down car and an idiot with military pants standing and asking for help. So this is in the middle of the night, I think. And Parks, he stops and go outside and he talks to these people. There are 3 people. Amongst them is a guy called Earl. And Earl is the only guy we need to remember here, because the other 2 are his brothers, but they are kind of, just people to be killed in the movie.
You can see them as sidekicks.
Yeah. And of course, they has to be stupid.
Yeah, they are very stupid. They are kind of like comic book villains.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you always, in this kind of movies, you always need to have a stupid people. Like, always. It's... I'm starting to get over that, this overly stupid characters. No one is that stupid.
No, they're not.
And at least they are Earl's 2 brothers, at least. And Earl, he makes a burn towards his own brothers by telling them that they are stupid because they're inbred. But hello, Earl, you're also inbred if they're your brothers, idiot.
Maybe he's like some kind of half-brother. I don't know.
Sure. Well, he's the only sane one, at least.
He's way smarter than his brothers, that's for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, so they stop and they want to, when they've talked a bit with Parks, they try to steal the RV because they are road pirates.
They're also bank robbers, it seems.
Yeah.
We talked about them on the news before in the movie.
Yeah. And this is a good catch. You told me before we started to record, because in the beginning of the movie, there is a newscast about a robbery and people being killed, and they're trying to investigate what happened. And then we find these guys, and they have money in a bag and whatnot. And when you told me that, Adam, I started to think about it, and I really like that connection, because you just introduce something in the beginning and then you tie it together later on with something as simple as them being road pirates and whatnot. So I kind of like that, because it opens up for them to be characters in this movie.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly if they actually said it was a bank robber on the news,
they did.
But yeah, it was something about homicides at least, and killers on the loose or whatever.
It was both homicide and bank robbery, and they thought it was linked, but they didn't really have any evidence. So the police in this was actually speaking out of their asses, but that doesn't matter. They were just guessing. Yeah. But there's a huge fight because, they don't want to give up the RV and whatnot. And so our protagonists win the fight, and they tie those 3 together in the RV and start to drive off. And what happens now, Adam? It's a scary thing.
Well,
they're attacked by mosquitoes.
Yes, exactly. They're attacked by mosquitoes. So it's not much of a plot twist, because what else would they be attacked by?
Exactly. I mean, they do mention something later on, which I've actually thought was funny, and I'm going to make a small reference to that too. But we can take that later. They're attacked by mosquitoes, and they try to fight them off. And these are very tenacious mosquitoes, because they try to, put their what's it called, a proboscis through their sucking straw through the roof, and they break windows, and they really want to get to these people. I mean, they are really, really hungry. Actually, I don't know if they're sucking blood because they're hungry, or they just do it to breed. I think it's to breed. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe so, because doesn't Megan say at some point that only the female mosquitoes actually suck blood?
And she's absolutely right about that.
Yeah, so I guess that it makes sense that they only need to breed.
Yeah, so they fight off these mosquitoes, and it's a kind of a car chase things. And I hate car chases, even with big mosquitoes. It sucks. It's just unwanted, made up tension. I don't like it.
No.
Either way, they drive off, and the RV crashes. And I think we have lost a character now, right? One of Earl's two brothers.
If I remember right, didn't one of them die pretty early because they accidentally shot him?
All right. We forgot to mention that. Yeah, exactly. So,
So what
Earl's
happened
one
was
brother
that
shot. Yeah, you can.
uh, one was being chased by a giant mosquito, and the other retarded brother tried to shoot the mosquito, and he completely misses and shoots his brother through the chest.
Yeah, it's a killing shot too. It's not like in the leg or so. It's like straight through the stomach. So good job from the brother there.
Yeah, it's a
Doesn't
very
matter.
good shot.
Yeah, but Karma is a bitch, and he gets assassinated later on by another mosquito. So now we're down to our main characters: Ray, Megan, Hendricks, Parks, and Earl. And they kind of want to make a run for it. And where do you think is a good place to hide if you want to get away from mosquitoes? I'm thinking like there's supposed to be a roof and a lot of walls and dry. I'm thinking.
Oh, you mean like a house?
Yeah, like a house. But they haven't reached the house yet. They're actually crawling through the sewer. And
Yeah.
there, for some reason, there's mosquitoes down there too. And here is where my mosquito knowledge is lacking. Is there mosquitoes in the sewers? I mean, there is water there, so there is a place for them to breathe, but there is nothing for them to, suck on. So they shouldn't be able to breathe down there.
I'm gonna be honest and say that I have no idea if mosquitoes live in the sewers.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess no. But in this movie, they do. And they really fight it off, and at some point they just sit down and they start to talk, and this is where I like. This is what I want to get to, is that they start to talk about what do we know about the mosquitoes so far, and they just like brainstorming. Yeah, they're sucking blood, and they're big, and there's a meteor, and so they kind of make a connection to that. Okay, maybe there are feasting on this meteor, or something happened with it that made them mutate. And it's not just that they're sitting around and talking about the obvious things. It's that when you introduce this kind of scene, it gives the characters a possibility to give the viewer of the movie some information about what's going on and what is their plan. So I thought this was a very good scene for us viewers.
I think so too, and that's what I mean. That this is actually a movie they put a lot of thought into in the way that they present things.
Exactly, and this is not just running into some random guy that starts to talk about convenient stuff that you need to hear, because the viewer needs to know this. They take a rational decision. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk this through. What we're going to do. What do we know, and what not. And so, yeah, it's a very good scene. They get out of the sewers and they get to a house. And yeah, I don't know if he had a radiation meter with him at this point, because if he did, it would probably go off pretty hard, because they are going to go to the centrum, the center of the mosquitoes/aliens.
Yeah, because they head down in the basement and then see like thousands of mosquito eggs there.
Yeah. So while they're in their house, first they fight off a bunch of mosquitoes, and then they kind of look around and they find that, oh shit, there's a nest down here, and there's like thousands of eggs. And I just thought like, okay, put them on fire or something. But no, they're going to blow the house up. I mean, it's not a bad idea, because if you blow the house up, you kind of get all the mosquitoes that's also like around the house and attached, because I think they are attracted to heat. So they kind of build some sort of a bomb out of a microwave, and they set it off, and it explodes.
It worked, yeah, but as you said, if they could have found some kind of liquid that could have been ignited, it would have been much safer to just start a fire rather than an explosion.
Yeah, exactly. It just seems like you have an idea, but you're kind of overkilling it. So yeah, I mean, it's either A or B, I guess. You can do whatever you want, but I think I would just have put the house on fire. I wouldn't thought about like building a bomb out of a microwave. That is some really, MacGyver shit.
It sounds like something that very easily could have backfired, like could have blown up only the kitchen and the people, and like spare the basement, so it wouldn't have solved anything.
Yeah, exactly. For some reason, the whole house explodes, like really, really explodes, like really big. Yeah, and they manage to do so, and the survivors are at this point Ray and Megan, because for some reason they need to get out. Parks hide in a refrigerator, and I'm getting back to that. Earl, he dies because he's getting killed by a mosquito, and Hendrix just Hendrix getting killed by a mosquito, and Earl is running around with a chainsaw. Also getting back to the chainsaw thing. But okay, so the first thing I want to talk about after this explosion is, why does people always seem to think that if you hide in a refrigerator, you can survive anything? You can survive nuclear bombs, and you can survive explosions and whatever. Because in a lot of movies, you can always hide in a fridge, and you will always survive.
You mean like in Indiana Jones?
Exactly. What is it with fridges that people just assume is like some sort of a bunker?
I don't know.
There isn't even a scratch on me. I mean, he's in the middle of all this chaos, and he's just like opens up the door, and I'm fine.
It's like people think that fridges are made of titanium or something. Like they're bulletproof, fireproof, nuclear proof, but no, they're not.
No, they're not. They're just like cold boxes. Yeah, so he survives too. So we have 3 survivors, and that's all good and whatnot. And everyone else is dead. One thing that also, it's more of a fun thing than more of a fun anecdote than actually related to the movie itself. But in the movie, Earl, the bank robber, he says when he finds a chainsaw, he says, "I haven't held one of these in 20 years. Feels good." It's actually a callback to a reference to when he was playing Leatherface in a movie in 1974, when he was running around with a chainsaw and killing people.
Oh shit, he's Leatherface.
Yeah, in 1974 he played Leatherface. It's Gunnar Hansen is his name.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really nice reference. They actually have one more reference. I can't really tie it up because it's they're talking about their Vietnam flashbacks before they blew the house up, and it's actually a reference back to Jaws in 19. I don't remember the year, but it's still a reference back to one of the Jaws movie actually. Just a fun anecdote. I don't know if the director has anything to do with these movies, or he just liked them.
It's really cool, at least.
Yeah. Okay, so the movie is over, and what do you think about it?
I like this movie actually because I didn't expect much of it. So as I said, I was pleasantly surprised because I would say it's a pretty clever movie in its own way. Not that it has not clever premise, but the way they progress with story and the way they present it always makes sense. And you kind of feel like it's realistic in a way.
I mean, realistic is a strong word, Adam. But yeah, I can see what you mean. They build up their own world and build up their own premise. So out of these rules, as you say, it makes sense what happens.
I should say realistic within the setting, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, within scene. And one thing I forgot to was I wanted to make a reference back to early in the movie, because as you said, Adam, this meteor crashed into the swamps, and everything that seems to be eating out of the carcasses from the aliens seem to grow bigger. And then you might ask yourself, why isn't there like bigger animals or anything else that's bigger that we run into?
You know, I was actually thinking the same thing. Like we should have big, like those worms that feed on corpses and flies and everything.
Yeah, but I want to get back to the fishing scene in the beginning that we didn't really talk about. It's the first scene where people are getting killed by mosquitoes. But before they are getting killed by mosquitoes, there is a very big fish jumping out of the water, and I don't know if it was meant to be some sort of, reference to that there are bigger animals, but we're not going to care to show you them.
That's actually something I didn't think of, but that might be it actually.
Yeah, so there might be bigger animals, but the director just there is, but we're not going to show you. We're going to focus on the mosquitoes, which is perfectly fine. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
We didn't talk either about that completely random scene where this naked woman is in a tent in the woods, and this mosquito sneaks up on her, and she thinks it's her boyfriend, and she said something along the lines of, "Oh, are you playing Mosquito again?" And then she turns around and sees an actual mosquito.
Yeah. First of all, Adam, you always need to have nudity in a movie. So this is a perfect example of that. But yeah, there is some weird shit going on in this tent, because first of all, when they are trying to do it, having sex, I mean, there is a mosquito on her neck, like a small one, just trying to do their business, and she says, "Oh, are you sucking on my neck as a mosquito again?" And he's like, "No, that's not me. It's a mosquito," and he removes it, and then he walks out of the tent because he's going to take a piss. And then she's been attacked by a mosquito, a big one. His big, I don't know, antennas start to touch her leg and whatnot. I mean, and she's like, "Oh, you're playing mosquito?" It's like, what the hell? What are their fetish? I mean, how can a mosquito was something that turns her on? But she really seems to be into it.
Yeah, I think that if their next of kin would go to their house and find their amateur porn movies they record in their own bedroom,
Yeah.
I think they would be in for a real shocker.
Yeah. So it was really strange. She of course gets killed. She get one of the mosquitoes proboscis into her ass, which is a funny and disturbing scene in the same way.
I think it's funny because that scene has nothing to do with anything else, and I decided we need this scene in the movie. It's necessary.
Yeah, because of nudity.
That's also
One
very
fun fact.
90s.
One fun fact too about that scene is that she actually in real life got hurt by the mosquito dolls that they used to attack her with. Like I think she got like a concussion or something from it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was really strange.
That's
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of shit going on in this movie. Yeah, doesn't matter. I think it's good for us to rate the movie now. I can go first. I think this movie is pretty okay to watch. I think it suits people that sits around with friends having a drink and just want to talk while they're watching a movie and laugh about it a bit. This is not a serious movie in that sense. It's a comedy slash horror movie. Uh, the 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 dialogue is really bad. The acting is really bad. Even if we have, like, I wouldn't say a star, but a star-ish, is Earl, and he's not even good. He's really bad. But I really like the effects. I really like that they chose to go back to the. I don't know if they chose to go to the basics or they just didn't really afford CGI. But I really like the dolls, and I really like that you actually see that there is something on the screen. The only bad effect that I didn't really like was when they did this painted on thing when they did the RV scene. Otherwise, I enjoyed the movie in a sense. It's a bit cliche, but it's not that bad. They could have shortened the movie a little bit, but they really put every scene that's necessary in a sense for the viewer to understand what's happening. So based on that, I'm actually going to give it this 5 out of 10 because I did enjoy it, but it's bad. It's not good. It's bad, but I did somehow enjoy it.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of enjoy this movie. It's a fun movie to watch. It's not as stupid as many other of these B horror movies. If I had to compare it to something we watched before, it reminded me a bit of Sharkenstein because I think it's in a way a similar theme, though this movie is better than Sharkenstein. But it's the kind of movie that if you like these kind of older horror movies that are a bit like with a stupid premise, then you'll enjoy this one. So I'll give it 6 out of 10.
Yeah. So there you have it. We can recommend it, right?
Yeah, sure. I had fun.
Yeah. And before we close this book, remember that you can contact us at bmso.contact@gmail.com. We're happy for all sorts of feedback and, of course, suggestions of bad movies. And with that said, see you next time.
Bye.